If you want to write applications that can interact with human language and provide a human language like response, then we can use OpenAI APIs. And in this video we are going to learn about one of the coolest thing that OpenAI provide, which is function calling. So using function calling we can write software that can provide more predictable, more accurate and more structured response to user, and that is the kind of thing which we need in our software, right? Okay, OpenAI recently launched GPT 4, and we can also use GPT 3.5. So these are recent model of OpenAI which we can use for function calling. Now let me tell you how function calling work. Imagine you are working in a company and your company has this website. In this website you guys added this chat assistant so that you can guide user. Whenever user visit your website and ask some sort of question, then your chat assistant should be capable enough to generate right information. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. If I ask question like tell me price of product A, then your system should be capable enough to generate accurate result, because there are chances that in future price of product A is changed but your system should still be authentic. So that is the kind of thing which we need in our applications, and in order to achieve this step, what we can do, we can use function calling. Now let me tell you how function calling work. So this is how we can implement function calling. Along with prompt, what we can do, we can define few more things. Based on that, what your GPT model going to do, your GPT model will identify what user is asking, and using these things what we can do, we can extract those constraints from that prompt, so that we can already define few function to get appropriate result. I know you are not getting what I'm saying. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. So here I was asking question like tell me price of uh, product A, and in order to answer this question, obviously we need some sort of function in our software. So in our software we want some sort of function which can give us right result. For example, we have function like get current uh, get current price by name. In this function what we can do, we can pass name of this function. So this is the property which we can extract from this prompt. Okay, I can show you this in an example. Here this is the function calling.http. So I'm making an http request to this chat completion API. Here what I'm doing, whenever user asks this question what is current weather, we are going to define this function array. Here we want to call this function get current weather, and we are defining when this function is used. This function is used when user asks about current weather and he specify the location. Obviously we are not building any software, we do not have that function, but what we can do, we can extract those constraints from the prompt. We can extract things like location and unit, so that we can pass these things to functions which we already implemented in our software. So this is how it work. So after we have response, what we can do, if you are using function calling, okay, if you are using function calling, then response will be in a function call object, which we will see in moment. If you are not using any function calling, if you are using a standard API request, then you'll find response of user prompt will in content. Now let's see how we can make all those API requests. Obviously we are not going to build any software, so we are going to make all the HTTP requests directly in VS Code. And in order to use VS Code as client, what we can do, we can use REST client extension. In order to download that extension, you can click Ctrl Shift X. Here you can search for REST client and you can download this extension. Okay, we have downloaded this extension, and another thing we need is this API key. First let's see how we can generate this OpenAI API key. Every time when you start a new project that uses OpenAI APIs, only thing you need is a secret key so that we can make all those HTTP requests to OpenAI endpoints. Now, in order to generate one, head over to platform.openai.com. In sidebar, you'll find this link API keys. So uh, here in this page we can create as many API keys as we want. In order to create one, click this button, create new secret key. Let's give it a name, function calling demo. When you click this button, here comes the important part. When you click this button, you will see your secret key for the first time, so make sure to copy this secret key, because after clicking this button you will never see your secret key. So this is how we create a secret key for our project. All right, now we have this OpenAI API key, so we can make this HTTP request directly in our VS Code. So this is the structure of the request. Here we are making a post request to this URL, and this completion endpoint is used almost for all the requests we make to OpenAI, and this is the chat completion endpoint. Okay, we are passing key with this bearer in authorization, and we want our response a JSON format, and this is how we defining body of this request, and this body will decide what should be a structure of response. Here we are using model 3.5. You can also use GPT model 4, it's up to you. And we are passing some sort of metadata in this message. Here user asking a question which is, what is weather in New Delhi? Obviously we know that GPT do not have current details, so let's see what it is going to return. When you click this send request, it is going to take few seconds. After few seconds, as you can see, our response is okay. And now let's see our response object. So this is the response object, and in this response it is telling few information like GPT model, and in this choices array, very first element contains the response of our prompt. Here it is saying that I'm sorry, but as an AI model I do not have real-time data. So that is what we were expecting. Okay, GPT doesn't have current data. Now in order to improvise this prompt, what we can do, we can use function calling. So that we can improvise that previous request, and we can get all those parameters from the response of that request, so that we can already create some sort of function that can return us the current weather. Okay, now the change I made to this request is I have added this function array. In this array we can define as many functions as we want. Here we want to call this function when user asks about current weather and he specify any location, and in parameters I define what type of constraint I want to extract from that prompt. Here the type of all those parameters should be an object, and here I'm defining all those property. I need location and I need unit of that weather. Okay, and here I'm passing another thing which is required. I out of these two, the location parameters should be there in response body, and this is basically how I write function calling. And if I click this button send request, here it is producing this response, and instead of returning result in content, here you'll see content is null. It is returning result in this function call object. Here you can see it is generating the argument. Obviously we are not building any software, so you can pass these argument to any function or any API which you have implemented in your system. So this is how we can use function calling to make our product so much better and so much predictable, and our model can produce a structured response to user, and that is the kind of thing which we want.